backstage
Yeah,
is in the video for
it's in the
this, but it's
video.
not in the video description of your original morning show video.
Man, I should really fire my producer. You know that?
No, no,
I should really fire my, which is me.
yeah,
But yeah,
no. Well, I my in my head, there's like 50 million things you have to do, and like
there is.
readjust the lighting,
Yeah.
and it's just going to happen.
Well,
So,
it's funny that you should mention this because, and oh my fictitious God, I don't mean this to be another incident of Andy like screaming at the internet, but the what there, yeah, yeah. I wake up, I typity type on the blog, um,
yes,
on Only Sky. I kind of tear my hair out about the formatting, which even the tech people have difficulty with dealing with.
mm,
Um, and then I do my regular Facebook, YouTube, my regular stuff, and then I eventually get back to YouTube and try to finish up the show. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm. I'll tell you a little trick I learned about, if you don't mind. It's not that interesting, but a guy wrote a book called The Checklist, and
yes,
he instituted a checklist for hospitals prior
yeah,
to surgery, even though it was mostly basic, obvious stuff,
like washing your
and it
fucking hands.
reduced it reduced the number of errors dramatically and
It's
post-operative infections. You have the book?
I have the book and I'm trying to find it. It's one of those. It's called the Checklist Manifesto, right?
Is that what it's called? Okay.
The Checklist Manifesto, and it's kicking around here somewhere. It's an interesting book, um, but like a lot of books, there's a lot of padding to it. That's what I discovered. So,
Yes.
the 420 is here.
I used
Yeah.
to work in publishing, and I can tell you for a fact so many books are actually magazine articles that are
Yeah.
disguised as books.
Well, this is the thing about jokes is that when you're writing jokes, of course, it's the opposite is true. So you try to take
Mm,
away as much of the fat, so to speak, as possible. So you just
right.
have this condensed, and that's why I think that what's wrong
420
here?
looks different somehow.
You are. I think you were in my nightmares last night. 420.
I, I found a headless.
It's the headless pot smoker.
Yes. How does he
this
inhale?
this could be really good for people who need to remain anonymous for different reasons. You
Mm,
can only come on as icons.
Right. Wow, dude, that's pretty trippy. Of all the of all the moves you've made, that is probably the speechless. That's what I am. Wow, dude. Yeah, pretty impressive. And so this is just a filter that you're using right now.
Yeah,
One of the Snapchat ones, one of the Snapchat kind of filters.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
It's phenomenal what they can do.
Yep.
mhm.
Yeah. Soon there'll be a tip line for you for Snapchat filters, right?
Maybe they can do the reverse for Tobin because he's in negative space anyway.
Oh
So
yeah.
just the head can be there.
Tobin's like in the singularity, right?
Yes.
That's what.
This is still
I
my
always
favorite.
like that.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. What's up,
Mm.
Goblin?
Get nice and warm, cozy.
Oh,
Right.
Jeff. Jeff should jump in. I can't
Yeah.
say I've ever seen Jeff jump in one of these streams.
Yes. Tesla Ranger asks, "Have I seen the litter box in schools, lady?" I have not, Tesla Ranger. Though I feel like my life is lessened now for knowing that it exists, and I have not seen it. Well, that's right, John Hudson.
Yeah,
Matt
I want to
Turn.
partake in.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
I want to take part in writing some letters to that school. That sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun. It sounds like fun. And, if you're a content creator out there and if you want to write a couple of letters, and if they're funny, then I'll put them up on the blog, actually, on Only Sky. It'll be part of or part of the insurgency program, right, that I'm running against the right-wing fascists. So that would be funny. So, yeah.
How do we send them?
And there's another angle.
Zebra. Oh, I'm sorry, Zebra. Aren't you? We're connected on Twitter, aren't we?
Oh, of course, Twitter. Yes, I don't.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention that because I'd forgotten all about it.
Oh, I don't
Twitter is
forget about Twitter. I've been thinking about Twitter quite a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See, the other angle you could take with that email writing thing, if you, I guess you'd need knowledge of teachers doing it, but teachers like, what was the name of that content creator whose daughter recorded her teacher pushing religion in their sex education class?
That's the place for it.
Yeah, she recorded it. Telltale Atheist.
Telltale.
See, teachers like that, if we just swamped this tip line reporting teachers for doing shit like that, which I know is the opposite of what they want, but we should swamp them with that shit. Yeah, Telltale.
So this is the a parent expresses concern over a unisex bathroom featuring a litter box for kids who identify as cats, and this is obviously a Poe, and that's the link there, I guess, from the Morning Sun, which is a Brit newspaper, English newspaper. Yeah, there. Yeah, that would be funny. I should check that out.
People who identify as cats.
Yeah.
Fairies.
Yeah.
I've heard of identifying as zebras, but never cats.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'd be very anxious if we actually met in person if you identify as a zebra, because, zebras kill more people in Africa than lions do.
Not as many as hippopotamuses, though.
Oh, hippopotamuses are nasty creatures.
I know. I was very critical.
If you've heard my exploding poo story,
yes,
then that hippopotamuses, I don't even know.
Hippopotami sounds right because the name is taken from Greek. Hippopotamus is Greek for river horse.
I know this about platypus. The plural for platypus is officially platypuses, and if that has the same derivation, if it's a Greek derivation, then platypuses then it might be hippopotamuses, but they're all just violent creatures, those hippopotamuses.
And that was my big complaint with Jurassic Park, because they had this theme where you didn't have to be scared of a Vegisaurus. So don't worry about the vegetarian dinosaurs.
Right.
And of course, that must be completely wrong. Those creatures have all the more reason to be angry because they're being attacked all the time and would be very defensive.
Yeah. You don't want to let your...
One of the things
Oh, go ahead, dude.
One of the things I learned about the hippopotamus, though, is they will also protect animals, and they'll keep alligators from eating the elk and stuff. They'll protect animals as well. They're really dangerous, but they also have this caring side to them.
Interesting.
And they can run faster than Usain Bolt, which seems insane, but is true.
So it's probably not great for a bunch of old white men, and I assume old black and white zebras.
Here it comes.
To talk about it, but have you seen, as cat lovers, and that's how I'm excusing bringing this up.
This is how you're back ending this. This is going. This is how you're backing this up. Okay. I see the entry point. 420
on TikTok. All these girls they wear cat ears and a cat tail. Well, It's a thing called Nico. If you Google it, it's an anime thing, but it's very popular in Japan, and it's becoming more popular in Western cultures.
I have seen, I have to tell you, the TikTok algorithm knows me very well. It knows that I want to see cats. Maybe sometimes some cooking TikToks too, but a lot of cats, a lot of comedians, some cooking stuff, and that's what it typically feeds. Gives me. I don't know if anyone else, what your experience, if you're even on TikTok at all. But yes, I have seen some girls with cat ears. I haven't seen the tails, but I guess the hippopotamuses or the hippopotami can also be used. Very interesting. And Nico, is it Nico or Neko 420? How do you pronounce that?
I was guessing.
Okay. So I guess it means cat in Japanese. Interesting.
Pronunciation.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Tomorrow night I'm doing a show. I'm a guest on someone else's channel. And whose channel is it? That's a very good question. It's the PSF channel. See? And that's at 8:00 Eastern tomorrow. And it's supposed to be a patron subscription drive. I'm just going to show up. I might be drunk. I haven't gotten drunk for a while, so I might have a couple of drinks in me. Because I've been feeling the urge, right?
We are looking at how to say.
Oh. Heck yeah.
You work.
Yeah, the Prometheus channel with Bryce.
Right.
Bryce.
So
Is that, what does the PFS stand for?
I know it, but I know it starts with Prometheus, which is a Greek, one of the Greek people.
Yeah,
he's mythologist.
Lightbringer.
Prometheus was one of the titans. He gave he stole fire from the gods.
Yes.
And gave it to people, gave it to mankind.
Yes, he ended up having his liver
nice,
chewed out every day as a punishment.
Yes. Here we go. See, okay, so now we have go to the scummer. Good.
Hello.
Or afternoon, whatever time it is over there.
It's after middle of the afternoon.
Okay, very good, very good. And Jonah says it's Promethean secular frontier. You're stealing fire from the gods. That's what we are. The second.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, drunk Andy's pretty fun. So I might have a couple of drinks in me before going on. Maybe. I don't know. Why can't I be drunk on other people's channels? I'm drunk on my channel. Why can't I be drunk on other people's channels? Why? Because they won't ask me back. Is that it? They won't ask me back. That could be a reason.
My general rule of thumb is to be drunk on pretty much most channels I go on, but I'm actually making an exception to the rule today.
Thank you. Is that? I don't know. I'll go. Thank you.
Only because I haven't had a chance to drink yet.
Okay, that's because of a lack of opportunity, not because of it.
Yeah,
I understand that. Well, this is what I think. This is a strategy that I've come up with over the years. Is that if I keep myself busy, then there's less chance of me doing something self-destructive or quote unquote bad for me, right? So if I keep myself occupied, then there's less chance. And maybe that's just the Puritan in me, right? The New Englander, the Puritan, is the fact that if I had the devil makes use of not useful idle hands, right? So maybe I've just been trying to keep myself busy from doing something. But of course, that doesn't work either because I'm smart enough to get myself into trouble, even when I am busy.
That's it. I've never understood a lot of the stuff used by psychologists, the techniques that they give you. It's like But now you've told me, so like my brain's not going to let that shit work.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's,
Oh yeah.
you sort of have to, I have to be tricked, if anything.
Well, some
I have
people,
to trick my mind to get it to do what I want.
Well, that's interesting. You should say that, because when we're talking, right? Because that applies to when we're talking to, whenever you're trying to influence someone, right? Whether you're trying to talk to a Christian and convince them that Christianity is a bunch of myth, right? You have to start with where the person's at. You have to start with where the person's at, because it would be nice to get them to go from fundamentalist evangelical to anti-theist, right, in 30 seconds. But you gotta start where they're at and kind of tailor your message towards them.
Yeah, I'd be very suspicious if I was any conversation I started out with where someone was a devout Christian and was an anti-theist by the end of it, because it doesn't tend to happen like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, you got to wonder if that happens, whether or not there's other psychological issues going on, right?
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, in one way or another, everyone's deconversion story goes, even if there was some pivotal moment, it's always a long or slow progression. It's not just you wake up one day. So I think the best thing that anyone can ever do is to start the questions.
Yeah.
If you can start those questions in someone's mind, that's that's the beginning of the snowball, I guess.
No, I think you're spot on with that. Even if you're not planting the initial seeds, if you're helping the process along in some way, that's great.
Yeah. I hear some people complain like, oh, people never change their minds, but like that most of the time the person saying that is a person who changed their mind on something.
Yeah. Well, at least I know 3 of us have changed our minds.
Oh, yeah.
Most of us have changed their minds on the panel here about.
I used to be quite the Catholic.
Oh yeah. So yeah. It may seem when people say people don't change their minds, it's like, I understand the frustration. Because it seems like you're banging your freaking head against the freaking wall when you're talking to someone who's clearly wrong about it. Let's say vaccines, right? And it's easy to get frustrated. Yeah.
Especially because with a conversation like that where you kind of really are wanting to, because of the necessity of how important this issue is, it's one of those things you do need to try and change minds a bit more quickly, and get people to start getting. But I was kind of wondering this, like the other day, sort of thinking that we're really sort of, if we've been guilty of maybe not taking the anti-vaxxer stuff as seriously as we perhaps should have done a few years ago, and not this is one of those things we've let go, and now we're in the middle of this pandemic and there's a big audience for these conspiracy theories and so on. It's just something I've sort of been wondering to myself, as maybe did we not do a good job enough a few years ago, really, of
I feel that
we dropped the ball. But
the
thing is, back then it was a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a joke still, but nowhere near the numbers. No one could have ever seen this coming. That essentially, and it's everywhere. Australia's the same. I would say we're like 40-60 split in this country. 40% being the anti-vaxxers, which If you'd have told me
Yeah.
that would happen in Australia even 2 years ago before the pandemic started, I would have said never. We would be 90% like pro-vax. And
Yeah.
here we are.
You know, there are these memes that I see, and you can believe in whatever you want to believe as long as you don't affect me with it. And it's like, I don't really buy that anymore. I don't buy that. I don't think it's okay for you to believe in stupid and crazy things. That doesn't mean I'm gonna dick whip you with my with my rhetoric every single time. But if you say something in my presence and it sounds crazy, there's going to be a response. There's going to be there might be something more than that, but there's going to be a clear kind of like me messaging you and the people around us that I think you're full of crap.
Yeah.
Because it does. It goes down the line, and you're ending up hurting others because of your false ideas.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Even just right at the start, the part of the sentence that you said, as long as I'm not affecting you, they're not getting that they are affecting me.
Yeah.
And I actually said to this person that I always mention today, I said, well, the way I look at it is that if wearing a mask and sticking these things up my nose and getting tested constantly saved that 99.99999% of kids that get it, like, don't get any effects and no effects. I said, I'll wear the mask and stick things up for that 0.00001 kid that dies, because I look at it as though it could be my child.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't. I look at it as though it's anyone's child, because anyone's child to me is just as important as my own. But to get on her level, I'm like, think if it's your kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, your kids aren't coming near my kids, my kid will wear a mask to protect him from your kids.
Yes.
Indeed. I just want to touch on something.
Sorry, I'm a bit passionate about
Oh, no,
that.
dude. No, there's nothing wrong with being
very
passionate about that.
Yeah, this is a subject I've got very strong feelings on as well. So
yeah, it's okay to challenge people when they say what is supposedly it doesn't hurt anyone kind of statements, like crazy stuff about either homeotherapy or Jesus.
Yeah. Well, just a quick question. I wonder if anyone's tech savvy to know about this. What if we sent in letters to the tip line with attachments of reasonably big files? Do you think it would shut down the tip line, or would it just have a filter that stopped that sort of thing?
I just want to say, in protection of Andy's channel, that we don't condone any of this, but there are people who, if are tech savvy enough, very simply can, with the press of a button, just overload their system with spam emails. It's such a simple thing for certain people to do.
We definitely don't advocate doing that to help education at governor.virginia.com. We don't support that kind of.
And neither do I, despite my statement to the contrary. Yes. I don't want anyone to read anything into that or out of that.
Right. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
No, if someone happened to copy and paste that link out of the chat and use it for such a purpose.
So Simply Secular Dave says the tip line will filter out files of any significant size.
Maybe smaller files, maybe from, who was it? There was another tip line, and it was flooded with some sort of.
It was in Texas, and I forget what it was. What the tip line was? Was it for the lawless uteruses? I think the.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
It was
that's what it was.
for. It was the tip line for people who were performing abortions in the Lone
Did
Stars.
they flood it with Pepe frog
Oh,
porn
that'd
or
be funny.
something?
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
I
Yes,
think
that would be
so.
that
Yeah.
would be funny. I don't know what they felt. They flooded with. Eden points out the flat Earth, the ultimate gateway to other conspiracies. Yeah,
Mm.
I still think Jesus. I still think evangelical Christianity is the gateway drug to a lot of conspiracies. I know that my brain got muddled up quite a bit as a kid because of Jesus.
I will
It's
say,
the easiest.
I
You go,
will
Jeff.
say, having dealt with a few flat earthers, that generally, if they are into that, if they're into that conspiracy, they're generally into a lot of, or near enough all. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say all conspiracies, but they're definitely into an awful lot, because you have to make flat Earth work. You have to sort of build on the conspiracy to make it work for you.
Yes. Yeah, we've
And and tying into that sort of what you said before, Andy, the problem with Jesus and Christianity is it's not only is it a gateway, but it's so easy to get into, but so hard to get out of as well.
Yep. That goes for a lot of toxic relationships.
I
Not that I
talked
would
to
know.
a couple of people who honestly believe that we never went to the moon,
Sure.
and it's caught on YouTube. It's not interesting enough to recommend it, except for a bit of fun I had. But it's just very strange, and I often wonder, well, does magical thinking, like religion, lend itself to other forms? I'm not sure how we would prove it, but
Yeah, I think that there have been studies to show that the more religious you are, the more likely you are to believe crazy things. I mean, it has to be, right?
I think so. But I don't know
Well,
how to prove it. But you like you said, there may be a study or two out there.
I
The
can't prove it, but
I'll be right back, John.
on a personal level, I can notice the difference. So when I still was agnostic about God, a Christian God, I've found myself questioning, did we go to the moon? Because the crosshairs are in front of the picture and whatever bullshit floats around on YouTube. Whereas once I got over God and become a skeptic, all of that stuff instantly looks just see-through and weak.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone can, get
I
caught
really-
up in it now,
Yeah,
but
and
I understand.
I do think
If you have that one crucial thing of believing in God, if you can do that mental leap, you can do any.
Yeah, I do think though, like you said, I do think you need to. I think it's always important. I feel that sometimes we've got to make this distinction. What Sammy said is, I think the more important thing is not so much that you left, that you no longer believed in a God, but as you said it, you became a skeptic. And I think sometimes there's a bit of a thing to some. We tend to do a little bit of conflating atheism with skepticism, which I always pull people up, because I know a lot of atheists who are terrible critical thinkers, not skeptics at all. So it was that. So in a way, that's a more important thing in a sense.
Well, what's interesting is, instead of just identifying, and this might be more of an a-hole thing to say, but when you're asking, when someone identifies that they're a skeptic, it's like, so what are you a skeptic about? I'm just curious about that. Like, what areas are you skeptical in? Because I can tell you there's a bunch of things I'm skeptical about. And then when it comes about, and then there's so that's probably more of an a-hole thing to say. It's like, so what are you really
Yeah.
skeptical about? Give me a
I'm
short
a-
list.
It is a question though that is worth asking.
I was going to say that every so often you hear about someone who dies or nearly dies because they're at a dinner party and someone hands them something that's got a bit of seafood in it and they have an allergic reaction. And it turns out the person asked, "Hey, is there any crab in this?" or whatever. And the person becomes violently ill. And the person who made the food just didn't tell them the truth because they thought it didn't matter because allergies are a hoax. They think that people don't really have massive allergic reactions to things like peanut butter. It's all in their head.
Yeah.
And then someone gets hustled off to the hospital.
Yep. This is true. You'll see this smattering of stories about people being a-holes like that.
Hmm. Which I
Tens
think
of
should lead
thousands
to
of-
arrest and lawsuits. But hey,
They would hope that they would be able to get a lawsuit from me if they did it to my kid or to someone close to me. They would be fortunate if that's all
Well,
they got.
speaking of parental rights, Jehovah's Witnesses parents refusing blood for their children, and they are in the thousands.
Well, I mean, I've had this conversation, Sammy. I'm sure that you've had this conversation too. When I was working in human services and doing managing, I managed a couple of houses for people with disabilities, and I've had this conversation many times. It's like, just because you have a guardianship for someone, a legal guardianship, does not mean that you own them. Guardianship does not mean ownership. People do not own other human beings. It doesn't matter if they're 20 years old. It doesn't matter if they're 2 years old. You do not own that person. You cannot treat a person like you would treat a tin can. And so what does that mean? So that means that you are a steward. You are there just to protect that person up until the time that they can take care of themselves.
I think the problem is we don't have a correct word for it. Steward is probably, if we could combine steward with advocate, because I think that's the point. Is the guardian? The whole point of it is you are supposed to be like a guard.
Yes.
Like you're supposed to be protecting their stuff.
Yeah.
Not taking advantage of them.
Right. Yeah. Those are big differences. Those are big differences. Yeah, but parents, Jehovah's Witness parents, refusing blood transfusions for their kids. Yeah.
It's bad
I've heard
enough.
of doctors just ignoring
for
those
themselves.
restrictions once they get the kid inside. Oh, we forgot, and give your kid a blood transfusion, and he's alive now. That sort of thing.
Religious exemptions are just idiotic, right? I mean, I think it's religious exemptions for anything seems to be idiot. Religious exemptions for especially for medical stuff, right? For saying that you're going to avoid the vaccine, you're going to have your kids not vaccinated because it goes against your psychotic belief system, your delusional belief system. You're right, John Hudson. People are not chattel, Yeah.
And any developed society should be stepping in, saying, children don't have your religious freedom thrust upon them, because that's not religious freedom. So until they are 18 and can choose for themselves, you can't choose to let them die if there's a medical procedure that can save them on a religious basis.
Right. Yeah. You can't kill your kids because of something you read in the Bible.
Like, isn't that just a wouldn't you just think a functioning government would do that alone?
Yeah.
But
you would
no.
think so. You would think so.
That just made me think about the two people in Georgia who were keeping handicapped people, or they had people inside their basement, and they were like handicapped people that they were receiving funds for. Y'all heard about this one?
I did not
Yeah.
hear about it. I am not surprised, but yeah.
Very recently, and it's a
Yes.
church,
Mm-hmm.
Andy. So, we're caring for them. Then why did the police have to cut through padlocks to get into the rooms?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Fire
and
hazard.
all of the participants left except one, who's obviously, you know, I assume he was a homeless guy that the church has taken in, and he was on camera saying, "It's great. I get fed. I'm safe."
Yeah.
And it's
So this
like,
is-
yeah, of course you're getting fed and you're safe. You're locked
That
in a
sounds like
room.
slavery. That sounds like an apologist for slavery right there.
Mhm.
So here's the story. This is a real story. This is the headline from People magazine. It's Georgia pastor and his wife accused of locking 8 people with disabilities in basement against their will. The people who were rescued last week ranged from 25 to 65 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Self-professed pastor, a self-professed pastor,
Uh-huh.
and his wife. Yeah. Let's see, had been operating an unlicensed group home or personal care facility. Yeah. The police arrived after having reports of a patient having a seizure. The basement doors were secured with 2 deadbolt locks. So they were trapped in there. Crazy.
Just
Yeah, I don't advocate beating people that often, right? That's wrong. Governments can't do that. But if they did, their name would be at the top of
those
the
are the
list.
sorts.
That would be the top of the list right there. Yeah. But that's it.
There was another guy, a serial killer, who kept, his name was Heidnik, and he kept women in his basement too.
Oh, yeah.
Locked up, no natural light. Oh, well, actually, you know what? It's so distressing. It's even worse than what you just said, so I'm just going to shut up now.
Okay. Yeah. And it's dark. There are dark places in the world. There's no doubt about it. And the thing is, those people who have those drives to be sadistic, right? Those sadistic urges, they will naturally find themselves into positions of power. And what better position of power to be than being a man God or a woman of God, right? To exercise control over people who don't know any better.
Well, that's and I don't know how true it is. It's one of those YouTube shorts I keep getting in my feed, but apparently Stalin, the other people ruled by the man with the mustache,
Right.
had his son as a prisoner, and they said, we'll swap your son for this general.
Yeah.
And Stalin's response was, my son's a private. Why would I swap you a general? And his son died as a prisoner of war. He never...
Yeah, Stalin had
I'd have to double check that story because I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not, but I'd have to double check that one.
Stalin had
that's why I prefaced it.
I think Stalin had more than one son, and maybe more than one official son.
Because he had a daughter who ended up leaving the Soviet Union. Actually, I think defected to the US. So.
Yes.
And this was after he died that happened, but yeah, I believe one of his daughters actually. But he I think he was sent to like a seminary school or something when he for the Orthodox Church or something. He was studying to become a priest or something at one time before he became a revolutionary. Yeah.
Stalin was a poet while he was in seminary, and he was also a street fighter. Loved to do the street fighting. which was popular in the I think it was Tbilisi in Georgia, in the
Yeah,
Republic of Georgia, that section of Georgia in Russia.
Well, there you go. It's true, according to Wikipedia, anyway. Yeah, his father refused to make a deal to secure his release. He died in Sachsenhausen concentration camp.
Well,
That's his
Stalin,
own son, man.
yeah, Stalin had the mind of an accountant, right? If an evil accountant. So that's a kind of math that kind of informed his decision-making process. And of course, he was cruel just for the sake of being cruel too. So it just wasn't the fact that he saw people as things, as items, but like a true, sociopath. I mean, he gained pleasure from torturing people.
Yeah, and some of his close associates were, possibly even worse than he was. Lavrenti Beria, for example.
Beria, yeah, no, he was in charge. For those of you who don't know, Beria was in charge of, I think it was still the NKVD at the time.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
the precursor to the KGB. So basically, what the communists did, what the Bolsheviks did, there was already the Okhrana, which was the secret service that the Tsar used, right? And this is I would say the principal flaw, one of the flaws that you can see that still occurs to this that happened during the 1990s, when democracy supposedly took over the Soviet Union, is that they kept the KGB. They rebranded it, but they kept the KGB, and the Soviets did the same thing when they took over Russia. They took the Tsar's secret service and just repurposed it.
Well, they did. They took over a lot of the old. So, I mean, really, as a result of the Russian Civil War, because the actual. I mean, I don't know if people know what the term Soviet actually meant. I mean, it means council, but the workers' councils, the Soviets. I mean, the whole thing was the big cry of the Bolsheviks was peace, bread, land, and all power to the workers' Soviets. Well, unfortunately, by the time that you had the backlash, and not just what we call the Civil War, but you also got to remember there was at least a dozen countries that sent troops to fight on behalf of the Tsarists, including Britain and the United States.
Oh, sure.
Essentially, a lot of the old Soviets were sort of broken up and all joined the Red Army and so on. They kind of were left at the end of this of having to bring the whole old Tsarist bureaucracy back. And sure. I think this is what a lot of people don't understand, because people always talk about the power struggle between Leon Trotsky and Stalin is some sort of just like personality kind of clash kind of thing, which is if it was just about personalities and so on, Trotsky would have won that thing hands down. Stalin was a lot closer to, though he ingratiated himself more with the old Tsarist organs of state, really.
I would agree with that. Trotsky was more of an internationalist, and Stalin was more of a Russian-centered, a meist in some ways.
I mean,
Trotsky.
Is that where Putin's trying to take Russia back to?
Well, yes, he's doing traditional great power diplomacy. Or power moves. That's what Putin is doing. So it's more of a regression towards the mean, maybe, and the mean is mean. See, that's a little play on words there, and
Do you think he will? That the United States will do, or even a group of allies will do anything about Ukraine? Because clearly something's about to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Is everyone just going to bail?
I think our Prime Minister is probably actually hoping that there might be a war soon, because he needs something desperately to save his political career right now.
Well, Yes, and this is a good point, Godless Scummer,
Scary.
that you're bringing up, because how countries respond have to do with their own internal politics, right? Their domestic politics. So you see someone like, and I don't think Joe Biden, because he's not a war-oriented person, right? He's not a conflict-oriented person. And you can see that in a variety of different, he wanted to pull out of Iraq before Obama ever did. He regardless of what you think about his withdrawal from Afghanistan, he was able to get U.S. troops out of Afghanistan, no matter how clumsy or ugly it was. But with someone like with other leaders who are in trouble, though, right, who may have falling, public opinion, there's an incentive for them to act strongly. Let's say there's an incentive for them to be strong in response to aggression, just to keep themselves politically, just to get a positive approval rating.
The classic one
it's been great, though.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, later, Big Z.
Cool.
Love you, love you, Zebra.
Well, the classic one in Britain is Margaret Thatcher. Now, I would say the Argentine regime themselves, who were trying to pursue politics by other means, by trying to retake the Falklands. Margaret Thatcher, obviously then went in gung ho with that. But this is she sort of became the big hero of that. Here's the thing: people forget she was a deeply unpopular prime minister before that.
Yeah, she was doing a lot of unpopular reforms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and but she ended up winning by a landslide, partially off the back of the Falklands, and partially because if there's one thing about the British Labour Party, they're very good at shooting themselves in the foot, which they're kind of doing now still. So,
it's the only thing that confuses me more than politics within the United States of America, politics in Britain.
Yeah.
What's this word? We're going to be looking at how to.
What's going on over there? 420. You got something cooking?
Could you hear that?
Yes.
I heard something. Yeah, brother.
It was how to pronounce Nico.
Oh, Nico. All right. I like how we can go from Russian politics, international matters, back to cats. Nico's.
Well, I mean, I'd say the two are linked because one day cats are going to rule the world. So.
And now you know.
There you go.
Here are more videos on how to pronounce what is Japanese for cat. Neko. And now you know. Here are more videos on how.
Nico.
Didn't quite catch that last part though. What? Huh?
He just started talking in Japanese. Nico. There you go.
So now you know. So you learn things. You learn things on this channel. How to say the word.
Now I know what all the so apparently it's been around for a very long time in Japan, but it's just become popular in the States.
No.
So all the white girls are doing it on TikTok. And it's funny. It's just funny.
I think once again, Sam, 420, I think that we have two different algorithms. The algorithm is doing something different for me.
Yeah.
TikTok.
I heard J Mike talking about it, and like from what I understood of what he was telling the audience was that like once you choose certain topics and stuff like that, it doesn't get you out of that bubble. It kind of like keeps you in that, from what I understand.
Yeah. I'm just like thumbing through TikTok right now, and it's like dog video, comedian, food, useless, mechanical stuff that I have no interest. Cat. medieval court system. Yeah. So that's what that's what the algorithm. And I think the algorithm on TikTok does a much better job for me than it does on YouTube. Because YouTube, I like looking suggested videos. It's like I have no interest in this whatsoever. I have no interest in Jordan Peterson whatsoever.
We'll see. I say TikTok, but they're TikTok that people have uploaded to their YouTube, and they'll be YouTube short.
Yep. What were you going to say, Godless?
I've got to admit, I've just got into TikTok in a bit actually. I just met TikTok's something now. To me, it's just something you mess around on and do something silly on, rather than like what I do on YouTube.
Yeah.
I love your TikToks. Goodness, I see them on YouTube as well, on your channel. So keep uploading them to YouTube.
I do put some shorts. I do some YouTube shorts every so often, but
I'm a big advocate of YouTube shorts. If you're a content creator, if you're not doing YouTube shorts occasionally, then you're not utilizing the platform to the fullest potential.
I have plans for that. I have ideas that I would like to explore with that.
Yeah. Now I want to check out your shorts there, Godless Scummer. So I'll check that out later on today.
Oh, they're always funny.
Yeah.
And to the point.
What like me just firing up my phone and just saying that I think Pastor Greg Locke is a wank puffin yesterday, and that's like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Nice, very nice.
So
the name of your channel is Godless Scummer. Oh yeah, there you are.
Right yeah.
Very respectable channel.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm surprised you don't cross paths more often, because Jeff's quite politically minded.
Yeah.
Motivated. What's the word? Interested in politics.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah.
At least as much as I think every person should be. Like, people aren't interested enough, and that's the problem.
So Godless Scummer, I see that you have a video about David Silverman. What's your read on Mr. Silverman?
I let's put it this way: I do not have a lot complimentary to say about that man. Okay. I will say this now. I've always stayed very clear of the allegations that have been made against him from a number of years ago. I always stay clear of them. I don't tend to venture an opinion one way or the other on them, but it's more his or what I call right-wing shitlord takes on Twitter generally that seem to be the issue with me.
Sure.
And I've
heard people say that. Can you give me an example of one?
Oh, he doesn't believe systematic racism exists. He was on, I think it was on Robert Stanley's show, Right the Reason, and he was facing off against Stephen Hill, who's a comedian, who's been on my channel a number of times.
Stephen Hill's awesome.
Stephen Hill's a solid guy. And they had a whole hour-long conversation or so about systemic racism, and which Silverman does right-wing talking points. That's what he does.
Okay.
It's right-wing dog whistles more than anything is what he seems to be. But some of the things he tweets, I'm like, you can't even defend it on the basis of, he's being controversial to, start an interesting discussion. Because some people can do that. They can put out a statement that's a bit inflammatory, but it could possibly lead to some sort of decent discussion. Sure. You can't even defend what Silverman does on that basis.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much just leaves a Poe for clicks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some.
Or he could just be a genuine jerk.
My buddy,
to be honest with you, I'm going to say this. Even before his fall from grace, I thought the guy was a dickhead. So
strong words. Well, at least he was. Yeah, it's difficult to talk about him without talking about his phallus, isn't it? It's difficult.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I should have actually checked the language parameters on here before I came on. Actually,
that's okay.
To apologize.
As long as it's not the F word. Once again,
I'll try and keep. I'll try and.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it down to a minimum.
Yeah. So David Silverman, he strikes me as a dude who just got called on some stuff and then decided, well, if you all aren't going to keep me in the club, then I'm going to go join the other club. Joe Rogan's also part of that. Joe Rogan was also, I feel got polarized. He felt like, well, if the lefties aren't going to take me in, then I'm just going to grab.
Because he was all big. He was all big behind Bernie at one time, wasn't he, Joe Rogan?
Yeah. He's definitely gravitated to the right.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Hanging out with the wrong people. That's what it is.
There was somebody I just recently was listening to talk who was on the right, and their reason for being on the right was because he was getting made fun of. And I'm like, it's the way that people on the left are talking to me. I'm like, what?
So that means you're potentially wrong, and you're a wussy too at the same time. Because whether or not people agree with you or disagree with you, whether or not they're calling your name, should have no influence whatsoever on whether or not the math is right. Right.
I believe there's a term that their side tend to use a lot. People like that, isn't it? Snowflake.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about snowflakes yesterday, about about the right wingers, about misusing that term. Oh man, it burns me. That's what it does. It burns me. Oh, hey, I should say tomorrow too. I have to go to work early, so I'm doing the show at 7 tomorrow, which might work out better for those of you not here in the States. So show, and then the after show is going to go from 7:30 to 8 because I have to go to work at 9. So half hour after party tomorrow, and the normal show, the new show is going to start at 7 as against to 9 because I have to go to work early. Yeah.
All right.
And I should have mentioned that before, but brain doesn't do all things brain needs to all the time. Okay, so I guess I should end the show because it's getting close to an hour. And so, yeah, everyone, once again, early tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern for the regular show, and then 7:30 for the after party for like a half an hour. Thank you, Godless Scummer. Good talking to you. I can talk.
Yeah. Good to finally jump on.
Yeah. Good talking. What are you going to
say,
Tom?
Can I mention something? Yeah. On the Trusty 8 podcast, me and Kevin are going to be examining and reviewing a video with about Mark Passio, a dude who is like full of contradictions. And if y'all aren't got anything to do, come hang out with me and Kevin.
Cool, man. Well, thank you, Mr. 420. Shamala hamala, everyone. What's that?
What did I do?
I said, I'm closing out the show and I'm thanking you for showing up.
Yeah, you thank me. I'm like, what for?
Right.
For the show. Yeah, got ya.
Okay, take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Shamala hamala.
Shamala hamala.